This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Police responded to a 911 call.
Dramatic video of gun insanity in the Bronx.
Police releasing a new video of a person that they are still trying to track down.
Defund the police is not the answer.
Many people surveyed said they just don't feel safe in the city.
It's a shooting outside of a store.
This is Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast.
Police this morning are searching for the person who turned this Harlem platform to a crime scene.
A Red Apple Media Podcast Network production. Now, here's Bo Dietl.
Hey folks, welcome back to Bo Dietl's One Tough Podcast. Now today we're diving into something that my President Trump has been talking about as far as our government's wasteful spending and how implementing this DOGE will address these issues. When you hear how your hard-earned money has been continued to be wasted, you're going to want to grab a bat and take a swing at Washington's spending habits. All I can say right now, Trump and DOGE, every year, Senator Rand Paul, who I know, puts out a report exposing just how much of our tax money is getting flushed down the toilet. And let me tell you, in this year's list, it's like something out of a bad comedy sketch, except the joke, it's on us. Over $1 trillion wasted in 1 year. That's right. While you're out busting your ass to pay rent, buy groceries, and keep the lights on, the clowns in Washington were handing out money like it's monopoly cash. And what were they spending it on? Hey, buckle up, because it's going to make you real mad. Let's kick things off with one of the most ridiculous examples of government waste. Empty government buildings that are still costing us billions of dollars. The federal government is throwing $10 billion down the drain every year to maintain, lease, and furnish office buildings that nobody even uses. A recent report found that 17 out of 24 federal agencies were using only 25% or less of their office space in 2023. Even the busiest agencies barely hit 50% capacity. This isn't a new problem either. Listen to this one. Goes back to 2022. The government wasted $1.7 billion on 77,000 empty, unused properties. And it doesn't stop there. Despite these offices being vacant and they're sitting vacant, the government still spent $3.3 billion between 2020 and 2022 on luxury office furniture and high-end office decor. One agency, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, blew $15 million on brand new furniture for an office that still remains empty. Meanwhile, the CDC, yes, the same people who pushed down the lockdowns, decided to splurge on solar panel picnic tables, solar-powered picnic tables for nearly $238,000. That's beyond ridiculous. And if they actually care about cutting waste, they start by getting rid of these unnecessary buildings instead of using our hard-earned tax dollars to keep the lights on for ghosts. Now let's talk about one of the biggest heists in American history. During the COVID-19 relief frenzy, fraudsters lined up to take advantage of poorly managed government programs, stealing billions of taxpayers' dollars. Over $280 billion was lost to fraud, with another $123 billion straight up waste. One of the most outrageous cases, there's so many of them, a Florida man scammed $8 million in COVID relief funds. You know what he used it on? He bought his own private island, and he wasn't the only one. Fraudsters bought luxury cars, mansions, jewelries, and went on lavish vacations using stolen pandemic funds. One estimate suggests that $400 billion in COVID relief fraud may have been funneled to foreign crime rings, leaving hardworking Americans to foot the bill. while small businesses were forced to shut their doors. These criminals were cashing in on taxpayer dollars. And worst part, much of the stolen money will never be recovered. And here's where it gets right down insane. The government spent $2.24 million on cat COVID experiments, infecting cats and then euthanizing them to study if the virus spread. $1.5 million to spin kittens in circles and shock their brains to study motion sickness. $10.8 million on cat defecation experiments, literally shocking paralyzed cats until they poop marbles. This is real, folks. What the hell? You know what? And one of the things I thought about is, why don't we go after them with our new Justice Department? Let's go after and try to recover some of this fraudulent money. When you talk about $400 billion, let's bring him in. Let's find out, and let's go after them. And I'll tell you what, Mr. President, I'm ready to help you on this. They also wasted $720,000 on ducks in Mexico and $20 million on a Sesame Street show in Iraq, because Iraq definitely needed Big Bird more than Americans needed to lower their taxes. Meanwhile, small businesses were drowning, and the government decided what we really need was a $12 million pickleball complex in Las Vegas. Pickleball, folks. And what's even crazier, the residents didn't even want it. Homeowners fought against the project, citing concerns about noise, parking, and home values. But the government steamrolled ahead anyway. And Washington didn't stop there. Listen to this one. They handed $700 million to a trucking company that was already failing. And guess what? It still went bankrupt 2 years later, and that money's gone. And speaking of spending that makes 0 sense, the Department of Health and Human Services spent $2 million on a study to determine whether kids look at food ads on Facebook. Spoiler alert, they did, and that cost us $2 million. You laugh at this? Listen to me. Our government also thought it was a great idea to drop $873,000 on film workshops in Jordan, the country of Jordan, including a $20,000 to screen Star Wars. George Lucas is a billionaire, but somehow we, the taxpayers, are covering the cost of a movie in friggin' Jordan. When we have the Biden administration's ongoing push for electric vehicles, they poured $15.5 billion into subsidizing EVs that people aren't buying. Ford and other automakers are losing money on every EV they make. And Washington keeps throwing taxpayer dollars on retooling auto factories that are laying off workers, while billions are being used to prop up battery supply chains that rely on China. And there's something that really gets me. My friends are in the automotive business. They own dealerships all over the place. They're telling me that their manufacturers are stuffing these EVs down their throat, and they can't sell them. They tell them we don't want them, but they keep bringing them out there and keep stuffing them. Nobody wants them. Then there's the $2.5 million, listen to this one, for electric vehicles in friggin' Vietnam. Americans aren't even buying these things, but the government is happy to pay for them in another friggin' country. And while a war is raging in Ukraine, our State Department decided the best way to help was to spend $4.8 million hiring influencers in Ukraine, because obviously nothing wins a war like a viral dance video on YouTube. That money could have gone to humanitarian aid or helping refugees or even helping some Americans. But instead, we funded content creators to make propaganda. Now listen to this one. Take Serbia, for example. The government spent $1.5 million to push diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, initiatives in Serbian businesses. So while American companies are struggling with inflation and layoffs, we're paying to lecture Serbia about inclusivity, and it doesn't stop there. Our tax dollars also funded, listen to this one, $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland. That's right. A woke Broadway show in another country. Oh, let's not forget $288,000 spent to ensure bird watching groups were inclusive. Are you hearing me? That's right. Safe spaces for bird watchers. Meanwhile, they wasted $500,000 on a PR campaign in Ethiopia using the hashtag U.S. invests in Ethiopian hashtag that nobody even used. If that wasn't enough, Washington also sent $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia and $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru, because clearly these are America's top priorities. And how about this? I can't stop laughing. $2 million was spent on sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala, while Americans are struggling to afford basic health care. Another $6 million went to promote tourism in Egypt, because, you know, the pyramids, they really need marketing. No one knows they're there. And how about this? $10,000 was spent on a drag queen ice skating show about climate change. Yep, that's your tax dollars at work. They also spent $32,000 on a Nigerian breakdancing lessons and $7 million on magic projects, including $400,000 3-season podcast about witchcraft. Here's some more. The U.S. Navy spent $90 billion on warships that don't even work. They bought them before they even tested them, and now they're falling apart. The insanity continues. The government sent hundreds of thousands to a nonprofit linked to terrorist organization. Even after an inspector general launched an investigation, millions more were funneled to EcoHealth Alliance. This is the same group involved with the Wuhan laboratory research. And if you weren't mad enough now, your tax dollars literally fed Al-Qaeda-affiliated fighting in Syria. Hundreds of thousands of meals. You paid for them, for the fighters, for the terrorists. Then there's the completely ridiculous spending on personalized birth control in developing countries. Yes, we're funding custom-printed condoms while Americans can barely afford their own prescriptions. Here's a joke for you. And while we're supposedly fighting a war on drugs, the U.S. government actually funded irrigation, canals, farming equipment, and fertilizer that helped fuel the Taliban's heroin trade in Afghanistan. And the spending spree doesn't stop there. The government threw $45 million at a DEI scholarship in Burma, where corruption and poverty are rampant. They sent $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil, because apparently gender and climate change are somehow connected. While our own border is a complete disaster, Washington sent $2.1 million to secure Paraguay's border. They also spent $385,000 on a 16-foot tall pigeon sculpture in New York City. And while the American farmers are struggling, the government sent $20 million to teach farming techniques to Pakistan, Vietnam, Colombia, and Brazil. Because, you know, American farmers don't need that money. The government threw $125 million to radicalize public health through the National Network Health Institutes, forcing critical race theory ideology into our medical system. This money pushes the idea that disparities in health are solely caused by systemic racism rather than actual factors like diet, lifestyle, or access to care. Instead of improving health care for all Americans, this funding is being used to train medical professionals to see everything through the lens of race, creating divisionness and in an already struggling healthcare system. This is so important. Let's not forget $573,000 sent to an anti-Israeli group called the so-called disinformation research, when they themselves they all spread their own propaganda. I'm sorry, I'm just getting so frustrated. They also spent $253,000 fighting misinformation in Bosnia. The same government that lies about inflation, crime, and COVID now wants to teach other countries about the truth. We finally are getting the truth because we got President Trump. Give me a break. This list literally never ends. And now all this reckless government spending isn't just an American problem. It's global. The World Bank is one of the biggest black holes for taxpayer money. And guess who's footing the bill? Who do you think? The U.S. While our government is throwing billions away on nonsense, the World Bank is losing track of $24 billion in climate funding with China, a so-called developing nation, with $3.2 trillion in foreign currency reserves. One of the biggest beneficiaries is China. This is exactly why we need real oversight, and that's where Elon Musk's government efficiency, DOGE, steps in. DOGE isn't just about cutting waste. It's about exposing the corruption that keeps these slush funds alive. And now, former Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is calling for DOGE to go after the World Bank itself. Why? Because for too long, this global institution has been bleeding America dry while boosting foreign economies, while American businesses are left behind. It's time to turn the tables. Elon Musk and his high IQ strike team have been working overtime, uncovering fraud and cutting government waste at insane speeds. President Trump is backing this 100%, and the deep state is panicking. FBI headquarters just had 6 top executives march out as Inspector General Emiliev, whatever the hell his name is, started purging corruption at the highest levels. And speaking of taxpayer money, get lit on fire. How much has New York City really spent on migrant security, housing, and food, and everything else for these migrants? Where did all this money go, and why? Why weren't there any RFPs, requests for proposal, or bid contract? I wonder. We got a mayor now that's probably going to get a pardon. This is shaping up to be one of the biggest frauds in New York City histories. I'm talking about where they're paying 4 times the amount for security guards. No one's talking about it. I'm talking about billions of dollars funneled into programs with zero oversights. All the while, crime rises, businesses shuttering, and American citizens struggle to afford their rent. Where is the accountability?
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country. Anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Clorox Sentiva smells like grapefruit. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like
Okay, we could be here all day. Try Clorox Sentiva for a trusted clean with long-lasting freshness. Also available in lavender and coconut. Use as directed.
Now let's shift gears. There's a lot happening in the world, and President Trump is making moves that demand attention. Let's get into it. You'll love to see it. When President Trump was in office the first time, he took the gloves off with ISIS. In 2017, he approved an anti-ISIS campaign plan that relaxed the military rules of engagement and sped up the destruction of this terrorist group. By 2019, ISIS in Iraq and Syria had completely collapsed. Then Biden came in, and I guess what? ISIS started popping back up again. But Trump just reminded the world exactly what happens when you mess with America. This past Saturday, Trump announced he ordered precision military strikes on senior ISIS attack planner and terrorists he recruited in Somalia. This is a real hellhole over there. That's where Black Hawk Down was. Trump's message, crystal clear. The message is to ISIS and all others who will attack Americans is you will find out where you are. We will find out where you are, and we will kill you. Now let's zoom out. The situation in the Panama Canal is worse than we thought. Not only does the Chinese company control both ends of the ports at each end, but now a Chinese construction company is building a bridge across the middle. This isn't business. It's a strategic move by the Communist Chinese Party to seize control of global trade and gain leverage over U.S. naval operation. Our Senator Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, has been sounding alarm for this for years, and finally people are listening. Rubio has been relentless in pushing legislation to counter China's growing influence in Latin America, warning that Beijing is positioning itself to cripple international shipping routes and control one of the most critical trade pathways in the world. Rubio, alongside other strong voices in Congress, are working to restart American economic and military presence in the Panama Canal, ensuring China doesn't get a hold on and hold the world hostage with a chokehold on all these shipping lanes. The ultimate goal? Take back control of the foolish giveaway under the Carter administration and put American interests first. Even Panama's government is starting to feel the pressure from President Trump, announcing now that they will not renew the agreement with China on their trade and development pact. This is a direct result of Trump-aligned policies and relentless pressure from lawmakers like Marco Rubio, who refuse to let China steamroll America. All our advantage. Rubio's leadership now as a real Secretary of State, not like the fool they had in there, and his tendency has been instrumental in making sure China doesn't walk away with one of the most vital trade routes on earth. This is the kind of leadership we need more of. Strategic and unapologetic, pro-American. This is the leadership we are getting into the first 2 weeks of Trump back in office. What he has done in 2 weeks is more than what the Biden administration did in 4 years. And let's talk Ukraine. Trump made it clear, no more blank checks. If the U.S. is sending billions to Ukraine, we're going to get something in return. Trump is looking into secure rare earth minerals from Ukraine. We're not going to leave it behind like we did with Afghanistan. In exchange for American aid, something Biden never thought of. Instead of just handing money over, Trump wants the guarantees that U.S. benefits our industry. All our industries we benefit from. Now let's bring it back home with these two NYPD detectives. Another corruption here in the city. They dropped a bombshell lawsuit claiming they were retaliated for investigating corruption at the highest levels of law enforcement in New York City. They were assigned to root out corruption involving top NYPD brass and city officials. And the deeper they dug, the uglier it got. It started with a strip club in Midtown Manhattan, Queens, paying cops for protection and looking the other way, violations and all that. The investigation quickly led to names like James Caban, the twin brother, then Police Commissioner Eddie Caban, even Mayor Advisor Timothy Pearson, and Deputy Mayor of Public Safety Timothy Banks. The moment they brought their findings forward, the intimidation started. The two detectives were showed up to their desk to find photos of rats and their license plate numbers written on them. They were being hunted down by their own department just for doing their job. This is the kind of corruption that rots the city from inside, and it's exactly why the NYPD lost public trust. This isn't about a few bad apples. This is about a system with a crooked leader protecting itself at all costs. If that wasn't bad enough, there's another problem brewing. A website called 50-A.org. It's been launched. It's a facial recognition tool that lets the public upload pictures of the NYPD officers to identify them, their assignments, even their disciplinary records. You already know where this is going. Critics are warning that anti-police activists could weaponize this against cops and even showing up at their homes. The Police Benevolent Association already sent a cease and desist letter demanding the tool be taken down, but the damage is done. When criminals have easier access to police identities than the police do to a criminal record, we've got a real serious problem. All right, we've covered a lot today. Trillions of wasted, fraud running wild, and corruption leaders burning tax dollars while the Americans struggle. From COVID relief scams to China creeping up on the Panama Canal, it's clear this country needs real leadership to stop the waste, expose the fraud, and put Americans first. With President Trump and Elon Musk DOGE, it's going to go after the World Bank. Marco Rubio, what a great Secretary of State, is fighting to take back the Panama Canal. And Trump is back taking out terrorists. I love it. Thanks for turning into my Bo Dietl's One Tough podcast. Remember, tell people all about it. Stay sharp, and I'll catch you next week. And remember one thing, this is the podcast that gives you the facts. Till next week, thank you.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.